Hey, howdy everybody. I just wanted to post a full interview that I had with Mojo Vision. David Hobbs, their Senior Director of Product Management, as well as their resident optometrist, Dr. Kenneth Tran. First off, I want to thank them for taking the time to answer the questions. A lot of these questions came from you, some from me. I learned a lot, really interesting stuff. So let's focus in on Mojo Vision smart contact lenses. So a lot of the questions that I have are actually from people that have asked me about it, which I was like, I don't know the answer to these questions. And then some of the questions are more from, maybe like the doctor's side of things, like how this is going to be, how this is going to work and be implemented. And so that's actually maybe a question. It's kind of a big question, maybe for David is kind of how, like, one of the challenges that I see is bringing like this demand of VR, AR contact lenses, Mojo Vision with mixed with a lens that, I'm guessing is going to be a prescribed lens, by the doctor. So,
Mhm.
you know, how hard is that going to be to work through that channel to bring that technology, the lens, to the consumer, to the patient? Um, and then maybe it's different in other parts of the world too. I don't know. It's kind of tricky. Yeah, how's that going to go?
Starting off with the easy questions here. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
No,
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
no. It's a really good question because I think that it's like the scleral lens industry has definitely grown dramatically over the past decade, right? And we've seen a real uh, a real thrust of effort around developing better lenses and better technology to improve that experience. And so at least from what I can see, this is kind of moved from I don't want to say a cottage industry in a bad way, but it was more or less like a few really big experts that were advocates for this to now it's a real sort of subtract discipline within optometry. And so
Yeah.
I do see where there are more resources involved, but one of the things that I really like about having a display that's near your eye that's incorporated into the contact lens is that we can now do some things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do with today's scleral lenses, right?
Yeah.
We talk about some of the challenges for any contact lens, right? Which is care and compliance, right? You've seen
Right.
the responses from research, and you've also seen the eyes up front where sometimes compliance can be a challenge, and so we have a unique opportunity, just as one example, to take that lens and help people through that journey of understanding how to properly care for and clean the lens, right? We can have a general understanding of how long you've worn the lens, and we can try to give you some ideas of whether or not it might be a better opportunity to take them out and give your eyes a rest, right? Clearly, that's a big challenge as well for any contact lens modality. People wear them for a very long time. I've worn lenses for about 30 years. If I can believe that myself, honestly. Um, and I've worn all sorts of modalities, right? I've worn hydrogels, I've worn dailies, I've worn monthlies, I've worn corneal RGPs, and then through working at Mojo, I've worn scleral lenses as well, right? And the final challenge is usually as you look at some of those more rigid or more permanent lenses, they get worn for a very long time, right? I remember particularly with corneal RGPs, I was very guilty of not being a very frequent um, updater of my lenses in my prescription, right? And I like the idea that we also have this opportunity now to be able to tell people like, hey, make sure you're going to your eye doctor, make sure that you're working with your eye care provider and getting a fresh lens, right? And hopefully with advances in technology and advances in features, that also drives consumers as well. So I think that there are a lot of challenges just with contact lenses in general. But as a platform, we're uniquely positioned to help address some of those challenges in a new and novel way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see. I didn't even think about it that way. That in a way it could actually be beneficial, as a way to kind of teach people about that. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's good. Um, so this next question is a question that I got from someone. So they pretty much it's a blanket question that said, what is the goal of these lenses? Is it kind of Are you first going to prioritize health services? I think it is kind of more prioritized maybe for low vision patients. That's definitely a target. Or has how they put it, are you going to go Mad Max into the AR metaverse, or both? Like are you trying to go broad spectrum? This is for everybody.
So I'll kick this off, and then I think Dr. Tran may have a couple of good insights specifically around the initial work that we're doing in the vision impaired field through the FDA Breakthrough Devices program. But when you talk about AR, there are definitely a lot of different stories that are being pitched right now, and Mojo sees AR as an opportunity to provide people with really valuable information during and throughout their day that they wouldn't otherwise be able to discreetly access, and then keep you focused on your day and then and move forward, right? So our goal with invisible computing is what we're calling it. It is really to be a heads up display of information and critical data that you may need, whether it's a couple of key bullet points when you're in the middle of a presentation. If you're on a bike ride, being able to have your stats from a bike computer being displayed heads up so that you're not looking down at your handlebar. We really look at AR as this opportunity to really advance wearables and keep you sort of surrounded in the environment that you're in without necessarily having to dig down into a screen. And so when we say eyes up, it's more than just, I think, a clever slogan, right? It's really the way that we want people to interact with Mojo Lens and have that information, because I don't think that I can go back to printed out MapQuest directions. I don't want to. But at the same time, I think we can all see that the implementation of different wearables and different devices in our lives has definitely created a little bit of distraction and a little bit of this stress between staying focused or with the people and the places around you and being invested in that electronic real estate. So when we talk about our progression of users, we have accepted an FDA Breakthrough Devices designation. So we believe that we've got some really interesting opportunities to improve outcomes for people with vision impairment. And I'll let Dr. Tran speak about that in a second. And then we think that there's definitely a lot of transition, or there's a lot of appeal as well for existing scleral lens wearers with some of the feature sets that we're building out there. I think I remember reading or seeing in one of your previous videos that there's a lot of people that have some significant or some interesting vision challenges, and they're in scleral lenses for that specific reason. But we also see that for general contact lens wearers, one of the things that people like about contact lenses is they've got this ability to participate in sports, right? And so we've partnered with Adidas Running, Trail Forks, Slopes, 18 Birdies, all these different leaders within their respective sports app ecosystem. And we're really trying to reimagine the experiences that you may have on a different pane of glass or a different wearable or device. And how can we help improve just somebody's focus or their flow or their training as a result of that? And so we see this movement towards general consumer, but again, for invisible computing, we really want this to be sort of like this, invisible, this invisible friend or this invisible assistant that's in your eye that's helping give you information throughout the day so that you can feel like you've got superpowers. But as that superpower relates to the visually impaired, I'll let Dr. Tran talk a little bit about some of the initial work that we're doing there.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, David. So the key thing in terms of working with patients who have visual impairment is as they start looking for solutions, they're presented with a lot of different tools. So that's a big part of what my role was as a low vision provider prior to coming to Mojo. A big part of my frustration is historically, a lot of these tools are optical and they serve single purpose applications. So as technology has evolved, it's gotten lighter, it's gotten better. We have more and more digital options. But as you might have seen in some of your research, it's still these large head-mounted displays. So there's always a give and take when it comes to offering and showing these different solutions to patients. So the key thing I want to underscore from David's explanation is that invisible computing really serves a purpose of giving these patients feedback and information when they want it, only when they want it. So with this solution, it doesn't take away from their current visual functions in terms of peripheral vision, different distractions. It's a really key new platform of providing visual feedback for these patients.
Yeah, so I see so that part is super exciting for me. I mean, as the doctor, doctor side standpoint, because yeah, like I said in the video, we'll have, I mean, I can think of many different patients right off the top of my head that currently wear scleral lenses or a type of specialty contact lens.
Mhm.
Maybe they have a bigger prescription or some type of low vision, and that's what's giving them the best vision they can. They can't get the best vision with glasses or other contact lenses. And so the fact that you can combine that with this technology to enhance their vision or is just, it's like mind-boggling to me. So that part's like super exciting for me. Um, as the doctor side type of thing. So that's really cool.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So um so the so with the scleral lenses, I guess this would be a doctor question. Are the scleral lenses, did you base that off an already made model or brand of scleral lenses and then just combine the technology in there? Did you have to kind of build the lens from scratch to be able to fit the technology in there? How did that all work?
So our end goal is to be completely platform agnostic. So as David talked about earlier, we really want to give the control back to the provider. This isn't something that would go direct to patient. And different clinicians have different chosen methods of what is really the best solution for this patient at this time. To start with, our chosen platform is a full custom scleral lens design. So we're not building off of other conventional models. We started with this approach really to give us the best opportunity to really take advantage of the technology that we're integrating into the system.
So that's cool. Would the process or maybe we don't even know this yet, but would the fitting process be similar when you're fitting someone with scleral lenses, maybe, with keratoconus or something like that? Is it, you kind of, will it be kind of, you're going to fit the lens first, get the shape, prescription, and then, hey, once we get that, then boop, you combine it with the technology in there when you
Yep,
make it?
that's exactly the plan. So
Cool.
that's why there will be a few additional measurements that may need to be considered in terms of just
Oh,
what other things do we need to tweak to make sure you can see the content in the way that we intend. But ultimately, this lens will perform as a refractive power. It's a contact lens at its core. So even when the technology is not there, we really want to make sure that the patient can still engage and get the prescription that they need.
yeah. See, it's amazing. That's awesome. Um, so a couple questions that I keep getting from people.
Mhm.
No, number one, and maybe this is like the next hurdle, is the safety. I know that's like the kind of the next big thing is FDA approval and everything. They always keep throwing this out at me like, oh, is it safe to wear a battery on your eye? That's like exactly how they phrase it. So how do I answer that? What do
I
I
think
say to that?
I think the easiest way to answer it is that there are many medical devices out there today that implement batteries that are inside of your body, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
the one I can think of that's probably the best use case is a pacemaker, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a battery right next to your heart, right? So that has to be very, very, very safe, right? And what we're doing is essentially working with similar vendors of that sort of technology. We are just working in an infinitely smaller space. So we're talking about now taking designs that were in the millimeters down to the microns. So we're very focused on taking existing technology where we can and then miniaturizing it to suit our needs and our unique space constraints.
Okay, good. That's what I was thinking of how to explain it because I figured it'd be similar like that. But yeah, is that kind of the next biggest hurdle is FDA approval, making sure everything's safe, breathable, all that.
I Yes, but I think in the meantime, what we're excited about as a company is that we've gone through this process of iterations of prototypes, and so we've been integrating new systems, better technology, and we've learned things along the way. And we're finally at this stage where we have a prototype that's essentially combined all of the different systems that we believe we need to have a functional and awesome experience in an AR contact lens. And
Yeah.
so now that Drew, our CEO, has worn this, we have the opportunity now to start building this out and really start to put this on a lot of people's eyes internally through the end of this year and next year, and then eventually start to have key partners and key like app ecosystem, like developers
Yeah. Okay.
start to look at this as well in the future. So for us, this is just an exciting time because we've all been working towards building this contact lens, and now it's like, wow, it is working, it's humming, and
Legit.
everyone's really excited to start to do a lot of testing around what that experience is like and figure out sort of like how do we make these experiences just absolutely amazing. And so
Cool.
FDA is absolutely part of it. That a breakthrough devices designation allows us a unique communication channel with the FDA to discuss some of the new technologies that are being integrated. And I think we're definitely excited about continuing those conversations. But right now, we're just super excited about the prospect of a larger portion of the company being able to start wearing the lens, testing it, and really letting people know, like, yeah, this is how it works.
Yeah, that's cool. So how did that go? The first, the first try on of the lens. Did
That's a good question. I think you've always got a handful of people that are very optimistic, and then you've got a handful of people that are like, well, let's just see how it goes. Like, I don't want to jinx myself. I don't want to get too I don't want to get too caught up in the magic of it. And to be honest with you, at the end of that first wear, everybody was very much smiles. There was a lot of like just celebration because we were able to start, the lens was talking with the relay accessory. We had all these different experiences that worked. It was definitely a really momentous occasion, in that we're not a big company, right? We're 100+ people, and it's been everyone, all hands on deck through this journey, right? I think, Kenny, you can relate for sure as one of the clinicians. And so just, I mean, going through the hours and the months of building and developing and obsessing and getting right and fine tuning, right, just to see everything work, it was like, yes.
Yeah.
And up until that point, that was really one of our first prototypes on eye. So that was really exciting to see everything come together, and just to be able to evaluate a contact lens with technology like that while he's interacting with it, I think was a really new experience for myself as well.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that. I mean, I don't know, just from my perspective, like a doctor in Idaho, that there's some guy wearing an AR contact right now. It's just, it's just like weird to think about, just that's real, so I think I read somewhere that kind of one of the next goals, or kind of one of the ideas, is actually to be able to wear a lens in both eyes, maybe to help with depth perception, stereoscopic vision. Is that kind of the goal? Like, when people can get these contact lenses, is you'd be prescribed for both eyes, or is it just one eye, or either way?
I think that the goal would be that you would wear this in both eyes, right? And that would give
Yeah.
you a stereoscopic projection of images, so that you could very comfortably see something out in space.
So I know there's a Mojo Alliance program. I think this is maybe for doctors or someone that kind of wants to get involved, maybe get early access or technology demos. I don't know if this is ready to go yet, obviously, but do any of you know kind of what that process is, or how doctors might get involved or get in line to be able to do, or fit these contacts? How does that work?
Yeah, I think I could answer that. The Alliance program right now is definitely still in its infancy, right? As we as we get closer to pivotal clinical studies and we start to submit paperwork to the FDA and move that path, right? I think that that's where we can be a little bit more active with talking with optometrists about the future here. But right now, we're being pretty I don't want to say selective in a bad way about like, oh, you can
Yeah.
join or you can't join. It's just more selective about the information that we're sharing and giving people updates so that this is a big change, right? And one of the things that I like about optometry, because I have eyes, is that there's definitely this consideration for risk, right? And so I, as a person who can see still because of optometrists, is super appreciative of that. So I do think that what we're doing is providing some updates, providing information, especially as we start to get through prototypes and we're saying, okay, this is what we think product may look like, or this is what we think is going to be incorporated in there, so that we can share that data as it's available, so that optometrists have a chance to ask those questions, and people like Dr. Tran and myself can make appearances with someone like you, Dr. Guyman, and
Cool.
give updates. Yeah, we want to be transparent with the information that we have. We want to make sure that it's relevant as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, so I think we kind of answered this, but with the actual contact lens itself, is it, does it kind of follow the similar design as other scleral lenses? Meaning, can you fit it for someone that might have keratoconus, like have different sag depths and all that, kind of fun stuff, fun technology with scleral lenses. And how big is the lens? What's the diameter?
The final dimensions of the lens are still in working order, right?
Okay.
I mean, you're never
Yeah.
really done designing a lens, right? Which is why we continue to go
Right.
through these iterations. But I'll Kenny, maybe it's a good question for you to answer a little bit around. I know that we're still in the process of designing the final lens, but we certainly think that we can accommodate a range of hyperopia or myopic
Yeah.
prescriptions.
Yeah, absolutely. So using a full custom platform right now, it gives us a lot of that flexibility. I know you understand that sometimes diameter is a fitting consideration in terms of what is the best modality. Since
Mm-hmm.
we can alter some of the different vaults and angles to a different degree right now, we are experimenting with different sizes, but we don't
Okay.
have concerns about fitting different types of corneas and sags at this time.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, this is exciting here.
It's
So
the flexibility of the platform. That's why Mojo's really reiterated that in terms of giving that control currently to the clinical team. And they've really allowed us the careful time to make sure we're building a safe platform before rolling this out.
yeah, that's cool. So now, how will the interface work, with eye tracking and everything? I was trying to learn, I was like trying to imagine it, how it worked. I think I kind of get it, but it's pretty much your eyes where you're kind of looking is the cursor, right? So um so is that the idea is like once you have that eye tracking, it kind of has a display, and if you kind of look at it for a little bit, then that will know you're wanting to look at that, and they'll kind of bring it forward or something. I don't know. How does
Yeah,
that work?
no, that's exactly how it works. We
Cool.
have a unique problem to solve here, in that you have a display that moves in real time with your eye. So if you
Yeah.
try to look to the edge of the display, you'll never get there because it moves with your eye. So we need very robust, very fast, very responsive measurements of the movement of the eye, so that we can ensure that we're keeping a steady image in space, right? Otherwise, you're going to have this thing that jitters like somebody had 5 cups of coffee. And so
Yeah.
um, we're I mean, that's one of the really, I think, amazing pieces of technology that's incorporated in this, right? Is that we've got this ability to very, very quickly monitor the eye. And in addition to that eye movement, like there's hopefully some really interesting things that we can learn too about people's general states, right? I think a lot about just getting a warning on if I'm fatigued. I imagine that you can tell if your eyes are tired, just because sometimes you're like, gosh, my eyes are tired, right? It would
Hmm.
be good to kind of have an understanding of where I am there. And it would be even better if it told me like, hey, your eyes are going to get really tired if you don't take a break. Like, take a break. You're like, okay,
That's cool.
that'd be great. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But eye tracking is something that we're leveraging to make sure that we're capturing movement of the eye and then keeping those images fixed and stable in front of the user or the wearer.
Cool. So that's all the questions that I had. I guess, is there any news or anything that you would love for people to know, or like what's the next step with Mojo Vision, or like what, what do you wish people knew about Mojo Vision or these contact lenses? Or are you guys doing a good job and like getting it all out there? I don't I don't know.
Well, as someone who works in product marketing, I'd love to think that I'm doing a really good job of getting it out there, but but no, I think the only thing that I would close with is that, again, we have all these different versions or visions of what augmented reality looks like, and it certainly it certainly spans the scale from immersive and graphically rich to informative. And I think that with invisible computing and what Mojo Lens is trying to provide, we really see a world where we can provide that information to someone, give you what feels like a confidence that you've got a superpower, right? Around improving your daily life and making you more engaged with the world around you, but not losing access to that information. So I would hopefully just make sure that everyone understands that there's certainly some different videos out there that we've shared that kind of show what we think invisible computing is, but it's a different it's a different way of thought around what AR can be, and we think that it's definitely something that gives you compelling, powerful information, but doesn't distract you throughout your day.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Cool. Wow. Well, thank you for setting this up, taking the time. I was super humbled, privileged that I was given this opportunity. So it's super exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to see the next steps and what comes out. And I don't know, it's a fun time. It's a fun time to be alive, I guess. So that's cool.
Yeah, if I think one of the things that we constantly hear is I thought smart contact lenses were going to come in my lifetime sometime, right? 20 years from now maybe.
Yeah.
Or I'm old and sitting on the front porch of the house, and it's like, wow, those kids have those AR contact lenses. But I mean, it's here today, right? And we're out there doing what many people thought was impossible.
Yeah, that's awesome. This was awesome. Thanks for taking the time.
Dr. Guyman, thank you so much.
Likewise.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, hopefully we'll talk to you some other time. Hopefully.
Yes, sounds
Yeah,
good.
we'll stay in
Okay.
touch.
All right. Now, the two questions that we don't have answers for yet are how much are they going to cost and when will they be available? We don't know the answers to those yet, but I do want to thank them for taking the time, answering the questions. Super helpful. If you want to look more into detail about the AR contacts, you can watch my video right there. I'm Dr. Neil Guyman, Dr. Eye Guy. Stay focused.